So this handy little gizmo is called an owl. That's the little eyeballs. And it's a speaker, it's a microphone, and it's a camera on top. So when you talk, it'll look at you. So just know that you're being watched. Yeah. Wait, get that out of the way. But it helps for the folks that are online to see who's talking when we're all gathered here. It's difficult to tell sometimes whose voice is who, so it'll direct. That's the theory anyway. All right. Okay, I think we'll go ahead and get started. I've got my name is Steve Spencer. I've met a lot of you. I'm with Provo and Pritchard, the administrator for the Keeler CSD. I sit in Fresno normally. And this is my colleague Tanya Holmes, who sits in our Bakersfield office. And I've got a presentation. I'll go through it, but I think the main idea here is to hear questions and try to answer them as best we can. So maybe I'll start if there's anything. Well, I'll quickly run through the presentation, and if you have questions, feel free to stop me, and then we'll answer anything else at the end. And if I don't know, I'll let you know. There's some other folks online helping us out. I'll introduce them when we get to it. So the agenda basically is the overview of the administrator program and the community accountability engagement plans. The state requires we have a plan. Part of that is public meetings like this. So we'll be here once a quarter for as long as we're the agenda. So the next one will be in July. And we'll try to time them with your board meetings so that we can have one gathering. Okay. Okay, we're going to align it with the board meeting, which I think are going to be in April, July, October, January. That's when you guys have it set, right? So we'll correct it.
Okay, yeah.
Oh, okay, all right. Well, we'll line it up with that, with the first. Yeah, but we're a little off. We couldn't get started, and we weren't ready to start last minute.
Okay.
So it'll be July, and then we'll be back every 3 months. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, you bet. We'll talk a little bit about the water system performance. Somebody outside.
Yeah, it is locked. Contact someone to appoint me here.
Oh, okay.
That's what's in
It is a bean tree.
It basically is. I can take that.
Okay, perfect.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Do you have an update?
I have one.
Updated address? But do you have she's updated her address? No, her address.
You sure?
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, so do you have your corrected address it's on here, like kind of yellow? Okay. Perfect. So you got that.
I did. Sorry.
Oh, no, you can
I will find
stay. Okay.
Okay.
It worked better for me.
All right. So then we'll do a brief overview of the water system financials. Update on project plans, and then public comment. And of course, feel free to stop me if you have a question. Brianna, do you want to go over the Zoom housekeeping for folks that are online?
Yes. Can everyone in person hear me all right as well?
Yes.
Yeah, go ahead,
Mine-
Brianna.
Awesome. So for everyone here on Zoom, you can use the chat feature for any comment, questions, or Zoom technical assistance. And just as a reminder, the meeting is being recorded. And then to participate in public comment at the end, if you are dialing in by phone, you can press *6 to mute and unmute yourself. And to participate within Zoom, if you're viewing this on your computer or your phone through video, you can click the microphone icon on the bottom left corner of your screen, and that will mute and unmute yourself as well.
Thanks, Brianna. I can't really see the screen, so if you need me to stop because somebody has a hand raised or needs to make a comment, just holler, okay?
Okay, great.
Okay, perfect. Okay, so the mysterious voice from the speaker there, that was Brianna Hardy, one of our external affairs specialists. She's helping write the plan for this sort of thing. She helped prepare the meeting presentation, the questionnaire, and so forth. She sits with me in Fresno. And then I've also already introduced myself and Tanya. The next screen is basically about Provo and Pritchard. We can talk about that more later. It feels sometimes like a sales pitch, but we have offices from Bakersfield to Chico in Northern California, and then we've got folks in Los Angeles area who work remotely, and then we've got about 240 staff mostly in California, with a few remote outside of the state. We cover the gamut from engineering to planning, ag water, to program management like this. And we do a lot of work with small water systems. That's recently it's been kind of a focus. So this kind of work sort of folds right into what we've been doing. We're partnered with Golden State Water Company, which I think all of you have seen the bills, the first set of bills. Hopefully online. We've got Perry Dahlstrom, our general manager, acting general manager, and Don White, our water quality manager. Golden State Water is on the next page, talks a little bit about Golden State Water, but they've been in business a long time. They serve a lot of communities as a privately held water company. We brought them on board because they have the technical expertise on just general management of water systems, financial side of things, water quality, what's required from the state for sampling, reporting. There are a lot of reports, as I'm sure you're aware of, as Aaron's probably aware of anyway, a lot of reports that are required, the state requires. And so Golden State Water is basically handling that for us and are going to be. Yeah.
Where's the dividing line between the two?
So Golden State Water is basically a subconsultant.
Okay.
So everything, they provide those services that the specialties that we don't have in-house. But Provo and Pritchard is the contract holder, the grant holder with the state. And so everything flows through us.
Right.
So in some senses, like the number we have for, which we'll talk about later, but for emergency calls, if there's a water system problem, that goes to Golden State, and then they coordinate with our operators to make sure that it gets addressed. They make sure the samples are collected and so forth, but we're communicating to make sure that's happening. If that makes sense. Also on the call today is Dan Radis, attorney with Belden Blaine Radis. Dan is a specialist in water system, the legal and the managerial side of water, small water systems especially. So the kind of things that are required to operate and maintain water systems from the managerial legal side of it. So if we have legal questions, Dan's the one that's going to help us out. Okay, now I'll hit a quick overview of the administrator program. Go to the next slide, Brian. There we go. So just briefly, it's funded by the state's safe and affordable funding for equity and resilience. It's a SAFER program. Without seeing it on the paper, I can't remember what the SAFER stands for, so we always say SAFER. But it's essentially focused on small communities that need assistance. They are they have a number of these systems that they're gonna appoint administrators for. Keeler's the first for us and one of the first for the entire state. And the administrator is, the list is, can be a lot of folks. We happen to be an engineering consultant company. The state funds for all of the elements that we're talking about today. Our work as the administrator, legal representation, and Golden State Water Company's their fund. So all the money, and we'll talk about it a little bit more, but everything you pay for your water rates flows just directly from Golden State Water right to Inyo County, the treasurer, where you do your banking. So Golden State Water is paid through our grant, not through any of the money collected from the community. The administrator, our functions, there is a bit of a dividing line on what the administrator can do versus what long-term we're gonna have to do, which we'll talk about. But we've been asked to assess the water system, build a governance and financial plan, help financially manage the water system, deal with emergency response, hire an operator to do the operation and maintenance, ultimately do a rate study for the community, and then this element, the community engagement, and finally a post-administrator plan, which is the state asking us, okay, what's your plan to basically get Keeler to the point where they won't need an administrator anymore, in whatever form that takes. And we'll talk about that a little bit more as we go. Why was Keeler assigned as the administrator? Basically, you have water quality issues, primarily high arsenic and manganese. And some of the reporting, it's again, the state, it's difficult to keep up on the reporting and sampling. So I know compared to some of the other systems that we're gonna administer, this is actually one of the most well-run. But there's still things that have fallen through the cracks. And so the state wants to help you have us help you find the money it's going to take to get the system up to where it should be. So that ultimately then in whatever manner you can move forward without the administrator's assistance. The goals of the program, again, path to clean, safe, and affordable drinking water, public engagement, and long-term solutions. So all of those things were long-term goals, but we're going to hopefully get to them sooner rather than later. The post-administrator plan, I kind of mentioned that already. That's a lot of stuff for the state. They want to help develop. When it says TMF on there, that's the technical, managerial, and financial programs for the Keeler community. So technical, like operating the system, managerial, making sure the reporting gets done and the samples get collected, financial, making sure that you have a financial path forward to operate the system.
Steve,
Yes.
how is it determined, to come up with the, how is it determined, who determines how to proceed?
So we'll work on those plans, and then obviously as part of these meetings, we'll be and I have some questions for you later on, but engaging with the community and how that's going to look. The hard part is moving forward. Water systems of the size of Keeler with 50 connections, and with arsenic in the water, it's going to be difficult. Basically, it's going to be almost impossible to afford that system with just 50 connections. So what do we do to guarantee long-term success for Keeler? Is that right now the state has money to pay operation and maintenance. That's how we're doing it. So is that going to mean long-term operation and maintenance support so that you have somebody like a contract operator that does all the work? So John Bowden or Nirna doesn't have to do, volunteer to essentially operate the system. Does that mean, like a managerial consolidation, which that's one of the questions I have later. It's like, is there a larger system that can, again, I believe it's still gonna take some financial support from the state. But is there a larger system that can give you that umbrella that you need to take care of the managerial portion of it? So you don't have to worry about it. And if there's an element in town that is providing maybe some of the operation on a not voluntary basis, but some of the management parts, the reporting, the sample schedule, financial, like the financial books, a lot of it's handled through New York County, but those sorts of things, is there a larger organization that can help support you on that? So those are some of the things we're going to be looking at going forward. So we're trying to find a plan that will work for the community, but also be sustainable in the long run. So go ahead. I'm
I
sorry.
was gonna say, so you're gathering this information. At this time period, we can come up with a plan.
Mhm.
You'll submit it to the. You'll make a recommendation.
Yeah, we'll make a recommendation. We want to encourage, and we will be working with everyone here. You guys can have a look at the draft plans, because it needs to be collaborative. This doesn't work if you don't ultimately agree with the plan, how it's gonna go. We just want to have an opportunity to talk to you about what that's gonna look like. Because it has to be sustainable. A lot of small systems, a lot of them have one person that basically does everything. But when that person retires, or they move away, or, they pass away, because often it's somebody who's retired from his other job, and now he's doing this, operating a water system on the side. When that person goes away, there maybe is nobody left. That's not really sustainable. People in the community need to be able to, you can't just rely on a single person to do that. Somebody has to be there to pick it up. So we're trying to find that part of the plan. Like, what does that look like for Keeler? So as we kind of set these systems up and provide recommendations, we'll see what works the best. So, I think this is gonna be a long process. It's gonna be a long process, so,
We're just so long, how long?
well, our grant is for 2 years. And part of that is some of the issues at Keeler are also just like the easy stuff. The well might need some rehabilitation. The pipelines are aging, the valves probably haven't been exercised. If your shut off valves in the street, if they're not exercised periodically, they just freeze up and then we're good. The tank, I think, is probably on its last legs. The water tank. Oh, yeah, please. Yeah. Uh-huh.
And the tank needed respring. And the inside, people wasn't have the pieces and get inside.
Yeah.
So at that time, military Zappia went up, and others went up, and we finally got the top floor open.
Right.
Bugs inside was actually just testing. The reason was is because spring they put on its brass and hose was way too big. So 2001, me and my husband went up on this Sunday and re-screened the tank. We went as small as we could go, because as you know, if you go too small, the tank will collapse inside of itself. So we went the smallest mesh we could, stainless steel straps, and stainless steel bolts. So as far as that goes, the tank is good. Then we had Bakersfield protective coating come in, clean it and inspect it.
Good.
The surface was shot. So we had it designed by Bakersfield protective coating, almost $12,000,
Yeah.
plus the $1,200 for them to come and inspect and clean it. And they sandblasted and re-epoxied it. Excellent, but it was not maintained. The board at that time that I was sitting on refused to pay the $500 a year for them to come and clean it and keep the warranty intact. So if anything went wrong, they would have covered it. So once again, members of this community felt this. Okay, I got outvoted. So in that respect, things have got to change out here. This fighting and carrying on that goes on out here is ridiculous. We have one purpose, and that's to have potable water. We don't have that. We haven't had that since I moved here. I moved here in 92, and then it was at 67 parts per billion when I moved here in 92. And when they originally drilled the well, it was supposed to go to between 180 200 feet. They stopped at 125. They did a test of the water. The arsenic was 10 parts per billion again. Within 3 to 4 months, it went to 40. So, maybe drilling the well bigger, but as far as the tank goes, it needs to be once a year. I would get in, drain it, the port door, go in, and when you go in there, you'll find that there's iron bacteria. It's the slimy one. Like it's not, it's all there, it's just thick in the bottom of the tank. So it feeds from the bottom and drains from the bottom. And it does Y up here, so it feeds the tank and the town at the same time. But when you take the tank offline, you have to put the 5 on. And we do need a air down unit on that because pumping 50 gallons per minute with nothing open, it will blow weeks, portions of the system. This happened to me and my husband. Tank offline and shock it and everything. So yeah.
Right.
There are some definite issues. But yeah, it definitely needs to be down. The whole electrical panel is done up there. It is outdated. It's outdated when we moved here in 92. Well, when it was put in, it's outdated. And we had, so the tank, I serviced it once a year. Got in and swept it out, chlorinated it, and brought it back on. But yeah,
So one of the benefits at this point is that we're going to be so as the administrator, it's not within our scope to do the feasibility study and look at the equipment, but we have to bring on a technical assistance like RCAC, which supports Keeler on the bottled water. So somebody like RCAC comes in and they provide the engineering support. So separate from what we do, they'll provide the engineering support. They'll examine the system. And generally systems that are this age that have been maintained, over the years, they've been maintained, but the idea, especially if we're talking about some kind of managerial consolidation, is basically a complete gut and replace.
yeah, some similar, you got it in place. My line of street side, and that was illegal when they put it in.
So
Yeah,
all of that, yeah. So the state will basically come in through a separate grant, will pay to have it replaced. The tank is, I don't know what the condition is, I'm glad it's being maintained.
But if you don't go in and set and sweep that tank out once a year and check it, inspect it, it's pointless,
Right.
It needs to be done once a year.
So we have some challenges there, but
Yeah.
that's one of the parts of the program. So we'll be helping Keeler apply for the construction funding to do all of that, get it back up and running.
Okay, one thing I would like
There's
to
some
see-
strings that come with that we'll talk about.
Okay, one thing I would like to see when you come in and do the system. That the way the original contractor set up the water services, there is no backflow prevention, which that needs to be addressed. When you go, you have the shut valve in the box, then you come down and the line that goes to the main, before it gets to the saddle,
Yeah,
there is a brass shut off out there. So if you have a break between this shut off valve and the other one, then you can just turn off the bottom shut off valve. And you don't have to turn anybody else off. It's not an issue. And if you can't get it to turn, that's not an issue either. Good pan of hot boiling water poured on it, works wonders, it expands and traps the brass, and then it'll turn.
so that's at the saddle at the water main.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
before the saddle. So you've got a piece of little black flex
Yeah,
or polyurethane, and then you have the shut off valve, and you have another stretch of polyurethane and short piece of copper.
yeah,
And then it goes into the circulating, which is comes in, up the elbows up and then across, the support of a meter, and the shut off valve in the box.
So anyway, that kind of stuff gets placed.
Perfect.
Okay. And that will be part of the post administrator plan will be essentially saying, okay, give the parameters to the state and to the TA provider to say, okay, we need to do these things need to be done. Here are potential consolidation partners if there are any. Here's the water quality and we need to treat it. Or you need to examine the hydrology in the area and see if there is potential for another well. Right.
This is why we told for us to put all that together.
Yeah, so we've got local hydrology and we'll be talking to the DWP and. So. Let's see. All right, so work underway. Yeah, we want to switch to, so the community accountability engagement plan. That's basically this. It's a plan. It has to be approved by the state. It's how we propose to communicate with the community. So one of the things we asked for on the survey is how do you prefer to be communicated with? So that we can make sure that we get in touch with everybody, property owners and the residents. And can get information out to you beyond just this meeting. We will be doing these meetings quarterly, just like this. And then we'll be providing information. We'll be putting information on the website. The Keeler website with the addresses there. The website's been great and it allows us to get information out, but there's probably some folks that don't want to access the website, so we need to have other ways to get that information. So we'll be writing that up, and the state has to approve that because it's part of they have certain things we have to do, but we'll be working with all of you on a draft for that. Next one is next slide is basically a shout out for community surveys. We'll probably be mailing those out as well.
I'm glad to hear you're gonna get input from everyone, the ones that will hear and I'll say yes.
Yes, the property owners too, because
Then we'll all probably answer.
yeah, we need to.
Maybe all, yeah, just wanna make sure that everyone owns land, if it doesn't live here, will be allowed to, in on the surveys.
For sure.
Because I've had contact, well, some of them have contacted me. Wanted to know, and I said, well, I'll let them know.
Well,
And they want to be, you know,
yeah.
part of it. Even though they don't live here, they're still on there.
If you know somebody who hasn't got anything from us yet, especially if, and I don't know, sorry, I don't know, but the property owners get the bills for the water. Is that correct? But not the renters. The renters pay for the most part. So we'll want to get in touch with the renters too. So if you know anybody that's renting, please push their information to us so we can get in touch with them. Because they may not be getting mailers, because if they're not on the mailing list, then we don't know who they are. Water system performance. Right now, the water system is operating. Chlorination began on May 11th. We had to replace the chlorine metering pump and the saddle, which was badly corroded. And then like John Bowden said, there was a leak in the system, a leak in the tank. So he fixed that. So we'll have to look at that as well. In the chlorine, in the chlorine, the feed tank. Yeah, the feed tank, feed the pump. Yeah, so we lost some chlorine there, but we'll square that. We collected the quarterly water sampling results were collected just this week on Monday. You all know, I mentioned earlier, the water's had arsenic and manganese above the limit. Manganese right now is not a primary state standard for that requires treatment. It is an issue. It'll stain your pipes, it'll stain your fixtures over time. But the state of California, in its wisdom, has decided that manganese is going to become a primary water quality parameter, and that means it will have to be treated to whatever limit they decide. Sorry, no worries. Long day.
Dogs by Friday. I can get it Saturday.
So, I mentioned earlier that, we may replace the metering pump. Injection tubing and an injection point saddle. So fine.
Hey, then I can talk about the stamping.
The water quality sampling, yeah, if you have a question or, yeah, go ahead.
There's two other. I. Like,
Okay,
fruit growers,
yes,
fruit growers sends me the kits for the samples.
okay,
On the state's schedule.
correct,
So I've received kits for the 3 samples. I am a person, Golden State, the contact with the circuit is. We can talk,
okay.
so, we need to know, are we firing fruit growers because you have your own land?
Right, so we're not necessarily firing them, but we're shifting to a different laboratory because the operator. We have a couple of operators, I'll mention, but the primary operator mobilizes out of Bakersfield, so it's easier for him to drop it off at a laboratory he goes
Did I
to.
send these people their kit back, or,
They most likely will not take them back. Once they've gone out the door, they're considered contaminated.
so I could throw them away?
I would just get rid of them.
But
Sure.
you-
No, and we're collecting the samples that are on that schedule, so the back T samples. Right. Okay,
So,
I'll make sure that Sherry, right? I'll make sure that we touch base with you on that, to close the loop on that. Okay, no, but yeah, right, exactly, and that's on the list, because silica is not required, but if I'm gonna treat for arsenic, I need to know.
Because as you know,
Yeah.
it interferes with the absorption of the media, it doesn't isolate, I don't know about adage, but with the isolate, that's the line of the pipe.
Yeah,
And it's on at the well site and the field is in for you. And we found that as long as the silica stays at a certain range, it still interferes, but it doesn't interfere as bad. But what happens is when your silica goes up, it entraps the media and it cannot absorb the arsenic.
right,
And we also found when I was doing sampling up here for Luxembourg, there was one sample, we found out that we were unable to do the exchange for arsenic from the 5 to the 5 to 3.
okay,
We can't coordinate to do that because we have a chemical in our water that when you do chlorination over 1,
mhm,
I do believe it was 1, that you get a byproduct of the chlorine, which is dangerous to your health. Now, I can remember I took the samples, Kathy Barton put in the name,
yeah,
but it's take a sample with a syringe, you inject it into a piece of cotton that's in a bag. We do 2 of those,
Mhm.
and they're separate. One was negative, but one was positive. So that's how we knew that we couldn't do the chlorination to change the dark because we have both 5 and 3. So we couldn't do the exchange.
right, so that was. You were testing for one of the disinfection byproducts. Like,
No, we were checking, no, what we were checking for was coming from the well. In other words, you take a
Yeah.
sample with a syringe,
yeah,
and then it goes injected in the cotton, which is in the Ziploc bag.
okay,
You wouldn't believe all the sampling I did for them. Oh,
Yeah.
oh my gosh, I did samples I never even knew about.
okay,
So we did all the sampling because I was testing their media with, well, the nastiest water they could find.
Yeah,
And that
sure.
was us. So, but yeah, what happens is when you chlorinate over a certain amount,
okay,
what happens is it changes the chemical, this one chemical in the water, and it causes to put off a gas.
okay,
So yeah, it's deadly. So, yeah.
okay, I'll dig into that. We'll need to, on the list, it's not on the state list, so I need to add it at some point. Because when they go to look at treatment options, they're gonna want to know silica,
Exactly.
vanadium.
Yep.
Your arsenic speciation, they're gonna want to know that, right? And then we'll probably look at TOCs too, total organic carbon.
Oh,
So, yeah, so those are the kind of things that can interfere with absorptive media. But. Yeah, the water here is not great.
no, seriously.
Yeah,
I'll say after bringing this.
Right.
Projects, I learned more about water than.
right, yeah, I can imagine. So. No offense. It's got some stuff in it that makes it difficult treatment. Some of the treatment technology becomes difficult. It's not. Okay,
And, so yeah, I have talked to them in the process of getting the badge and talking to Doug. I've had one conversation with him. But I want to talk to him to find out what their threshold is for pH.
yeah.
And if they have the same silicate issue, do they? Do you know if they do? If they're maybe, I'm shooting all these.
Any absorptive media, like. The only one I'm not sure of, it's like most of the absorptive medias are iron based.
Well, I still love to see some hydrosarcoma.
I don't know if I've seen titanium dioxide. That's worked, but I don't know how silica affects that.
Okay, yeah, I don't know either, but I still love seeing you with egg water. That's what we did, and that's what the TO units for. And that is hydrosarcoma.
Okay, I'll have to.
It's a white cover. Yeah, it worked to a point.
All right. We have a group that specializes in treatment. I'm only like an amateur treatment guy. Yeah, sure. We'll definitely. Okay. We're gonna have to collect some more water quality data for some of these other things.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Great Basin does twice a year for us.
Okay,
We made it back in 2000 before the lake project, or as it started. Great Basin came to us and we agreed to let them put monitoring equipment in our well, plus the water quality filtration.
yeah, they take your depth of water, right?
Yeah, they keep track of static level data, and then they sent me the last go around, not CC,
Okay,
and we drafted all of it too.
okay. We've reached out to Great Basin to,
Great Basin?
Grace, yes, so we're gonna have a chat with her either later this week or early next week, as soon as she's available. Yeah. On here, let's see, next slide. Emergency response. The number there, and it should also be on your water bills, but if you have trouble, that number is a 24/7 emergency response. We have two operators. I'll read the number here. It's 800-999-4033. The Golden State takes that call. We've got an operator, Ben Magana, who's our primary operator. You'll probably see him around once a week. And then there's an outfit out of Bishop, Kyle's H2O. He's on standby as for emergencies. If I need somebody, I need to get him out.
When one calls them, how do they know who this one? Just say Keeler.
You have to tell him
automatically know?
Keeler, yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
no other code.
No, I think so, yeah. And I'll,
So you don't have the name of your second.
Kyle.
Kyle, his last name is Kyle. It's, oh shoot, it's escaping me right now. It's Brand.
His number?
If you need, if we need, I don't have Kyle's number. If you have a problem, call the emergency number.
Yeah, call this one.
Yeah, and they'll dispatch. Kyle's basically just on standby in case Ben Magana can't make it.
Okay, where is Ben?
Ben's out of Bakersfield. Yeah. So, and I'll tell you what I've been pondering while I'm trying to figure this out is I would like to put somebody somebody here, like John or like Berna, to, if you're interested, to check the chlorine residual, kind of do a daily walkthrough. Or whatever you can do, but I need to get you under contract with somebody. The problem is that I have is that legally I can't just have volunteers do the work anymore. That ship is sailed.
Yeah.
So if we have somebody work on the project, I need to get that person under contract, and the person has to have insurance and sure. Now, if I can get them underneath one of our other operators, we're also going to talk to Mick Moore, because they're another one that works in the area. If they'd be willing to hire somebody on as a part-time employee, then that person is now covered under insurance and doesn't even have to have an operator's license, because as long as they don't make decisions, the operator license, whoever the owner of the business, the operator license covers. So I'm trying to figure out how that's going to work and get somebody to say, and then I'll be reaching out to the community and see if there's anybody who's willing to do that.
Yeah, because I have some issues with certain people. Well, I do, I'm sorry, but I do. I mean, we just had we had one person just put two wrong persons. Were informed that they would not work. If they had done their homework, they would have known they wouldn't work. And we people had to pay that bill.
So the goal would be then that all those, that kind of like designing of the system or those kind of things would flow through an engineer. Or Golden State Water, depending on what the work, if it's a maintenance project or if it's collecting samples, those sorts of things, then the person holding the operator's license is the one that is responsible.
Okay, that's my only thing, and I don't want to have to fill more bills when I make a mistake that's made and they've been informed that we need it. Thank you.
Sure. So water rates and billing, the billing is now should have all received a bill basically for your water rate for April's water at the beginning of May. And then that'll come every month, right around the 1st or so. So Golden State basically bills in arrears. They bill you behind, so you use the water and then you get billed. They do that because most of their systems are on water meters, so you can't bill ahead because they won't know. Now, you guys aren't on water meters, but that's just for them. That's how they handle it. So if there's on those bills, and there was a little bit of a hiccup, but some of the accounts that have past due amounts, that should start showing up on the bills. I think some of the bills that went out didn't have those past due amounts, and they also didn't have because I know some people here pay ahead and they didn't have the credit on there. So we're fixing that so that the bills reflect correctly your balance, whether it's a positive or negative balance.
That's good.
Yeah.
I did hear from a number of people who they didn't get their credit and didn't hear from anyone. But I do take some more for
Right. And we pulled that over. It just didn't get communicated correctly to the billing department at Golden State to get that information onto their bill. So it should, next month it should be right.
Okay, there's just one customer who said when they called Golden State that they were told that so
that's not correct. So did you know who that was?
yes.
Okay, if you want to send that information to me, or you can let me know, we'll follow up on that. There's going to be some hiccups like this, so if you can just email me or Tanya and we'll get it figured out. And also Catherine Hopkins in our office is handling a lot of the financials. So we want to make sure we iron out those little issues.
And there's the other part about for arrearages, they can be sent to the on the tax bill.
Correct.
To start back at zero, and then the county name versus KCSD, so I didn't know if you were planning on that. Or,
We are planning on that. We have to notify those, we have to get bills right. And then notify the folks who are in arrears. To work out how that's gonna work, if there's a payment plan, or if we can work something out. I will mention now, it's a good time to mention it now. There are programs for people who qualify to help pay utility bills. So we're gonna push that information out. I believe there's a outfit from Inyo County that's been here. They'll help get that, work that system. So it's a state program, but it's administered through these nonprofits essentially. My understanding is that some people have asked for the application and haven't filled it out, probably because it's a big pain in the butt. But we'll try to help get that done, especially for folks that maybe are in arrears and would qualify. Let's get this program and get that paid. Robert?
I'd like to say something.
Sure.
If you're in arrears, you get the paperwork, you get help, pay for your water.
Uh-huh.
We fill the form out. Actually statement to it. And that's all you do. It's very simple.
It's good. It's good to hear that. So we'll encourage folks who qualify to apply for that, because it will help. It does matter for the financial health of the community that that the bills are getting paid.
that is coming. Unpaid in
Yes.
June, July
Correct.
is the date.
Right. We're talking
So it's coming right up.
that's why we're trying to solve this
Yeah,
billing thing as soon as possible. Because we're talking to Christy Martindale, and she at the county, she's the assistant auditor controller. She's very good about telling us when we have to do things.
Right.
She's been a huge help there at the county. The county has been a great help all the way around for the most part.
The
Pretty
correct
much, yeah.
response
Yeah.
in Golden State,
Mhm.
when people contact. Quite important. Okay,
Okay,
this incident. The response.
Yeah.
is from both. We don't want this.
Right.
You don't,
no,
you're the two-thirds of the.
okay. So we need to, yeah, all right, we'll
Golden
be
State
talking.
needs to. Do some
Public
re-education of their persons
Okay.
about dealing with the public.
Especially for this.
Just started.
This is, needs to be.
We're the
handled a little
first,
differently.
this is all new, we
Right.
understand.
Yeah.
But it's important that we get it right very quickly.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay,
Robert, go ahead.
That's great to do all that.
Uh-huh.
The board, can go in themselves, we can say water on the people. The clean generation for the possible power, and that's gonna be. Talked about too, I mean, I'll send you an email. You know,
Yeah. And I know we've talked about it. One of the things that we see in water systems that have flat rate billing. And I don't know about Keeler, these are systems where we're actually in the community counting connections. Because we're putting, we're putting new water main in and doing new water meters and the whole bit. Often when you have a flat rate system, you'll have one home that is feeding other homes, or there's multiple residences on a single property. Because there's no drawback to that. I mean, you're only paying one rate. But when the meters come and when, like I mentioned, the strings attached to the state funding, one of those strings is water meter. So when the water meters come and we have to be diligent about making sure everybody gets a water meter connection. Only one.
they're almost all gone now because the road's so badly and so. So they were never calibrated.
So that's, yeah.
It's a very,
good.
it's, you know, it's very difficult for the community.
Okay. Try to figure that out.
Actually, they were,
The meters are brass and cast iron bottoms, and that's what was corroding, they have two different metals together.
Cast iron is.
So. And the meters, they went to crystal geyser, they cleaned them, recalibrated them, and they put new freeze plate bottoms in the ones that needed them.
Yeah.
And they were reinstalled. Now, when I left the board in 05, the board was informed that they needed to finish that project. But the bottom line on this is, we have people that use the water. We need water meters and a tier, and not a tier rate, but, an allotment set.
Yeah.
You get so much for this amount. You go over that and you're gonna pay people to teach, because this town, I mean, we have people right here that use water. I run here 1 month, 500,000 gallons. In 1 month, I got choked. And that was back in, 2002, 3. So there's no excuse for that, I'm sorry, but there's just not.
So we'll have water metering, that it's gonna be required,
Good.
and we have to identify and make sure all the systems.
Absolutely.
All right, well, that will come.
Yeah.
That'll be down the road,
Staying for the new years, you did one job, secretary job for 4 months, that as a director, and you got paid a dime. Yes, I was, and you're turned D1 to 20 by Kathy Barton.
So. One of the, yeah, so the water meters, I think, I will say. That. When looking at how much water is pumped out of the well versus how many connections we have. The water per capita here is really high.
Yeah.
And I know that the soils are really sandy. So that's, a potential issue. But one of the things we're gonna have to solve is. Can we reduce the water usage? But even if we can't. Treating all of that water, especially the water you use just to water your plants, is really inefficient. So there may be an options for doing a treatment system that only treats your house water. So you get water in the house that's treated, but the water for your lawns or whatever whatever your landscaping is, that's untreated water.
So it's like field units in the sink.
It would be, we don't want to have to go into the house. Either that or it's a central treatment and we just we'll put a whole separate set of pipes in. Like small diameter just for water, because. Well, we're gonna look at it, I mean, those are the things, those are the things. So the state always loves water sources that don't need treatment, because treatment is a big pain in the butt, it's expensive, it requires a lot of babysitting. The water quality we have here is gonna require a lot of chemical. And then I have. All of the waste, if I filter all the arsenic and the manganese and silica or whatever that comes out of the water, it has to go somewhere. And those kind of systems, you have to dry it and then haul it off primarily. But because if I can't do adsorptive media, then I have to do the iron-aided coagulation. And then I'm dumping the sludge, and I'm drying the sludge, and I'm hauling it off. So that requires a lot of ground.
Yeah, I know all about that.
Yeah, well, even a point of entry system is probably not affordable in the long run. So that's why we're gonna have to talk to the state about long-term support.
Well, about anything I can see.
The other string is, and we'll get to it here, is on the upcoming activities. Is the water rate study. The state requires a water rate study, and they have a limit. So even if it says we do the water rate study and it says to do your water treatment and your operations and everything is gonna cost you $500 a month. Well, obviously that's not affordable. So they have a limit based on the median household income for the community, and it says there's a threshold, a cap that only go up to that amount. And then again, the state has programs for people that can't that are even below the household median income that need help paying for the utility bills. So between those two things, the idea is to make the water affordable. But it's likely, I think, what's the bill right now, $35 a month? And it hasn't gone up since,
Well, 2 years ago, and that's probably 20 years.
Yes.
They have experiences, but it's not, it's really fun. I think they need to have. We didn't get to the house and it should not be the same price because it is that way in the city, some other little things. It's up to the curl, it's not that. Rich person there. Another one down in San Bernardino. They make their insurance and then they have also on there not, you got that box in there. They have a meter, there.
pay by the unit.
Yes,
Basically,
absolutely.
either by, it depends, often it's the unit's like 100 cubic feet or something, like whatever the unit is. You basically pay by the volume. Yeah.
Two rates in district is actually losing $10 a year on it. Because they set it at 21 and they paid 7 months a year on it, probably water for 7 months. And now I'm getting 10, thank you, by the way, I'm saving $10 a year. So, yeah.
So those are
And
the
then you've got
things.
ones that are doing irrigation for $15 a month, that is not fair in any way, shape, or form.
We'll be looking at all that as part of the water rate, and we'll provide that information so everybody can see kind of the calculation, like. Because the water rate calculations is gonna have to assume non-volunteer workforce. So. You know, that Keeler's been getting by because you've got folks like yourselves who are willing to step up, but. We really,
Yeah, without volunteers,
it's not affordable.
no, because I did it for my ministry, I
Right.
didn't think I could have done.
All of you have been working on the system for
Exactly.
free, right? It's not sustainable.
Well, no, some of them do things, which I don't think is right, but that's their choice, you know, I mean. Yeah, some people are willing to do it and others don't, so.
Yeah, so the assumption is that there'll be a paid operator, contract operator. You won't, it'll be somebody who works on multiple systems, however that's gonna shake out.
We definitely.
So-
Yeah.
So what we need to know is the true cost of running.
Correct.
No.
It'll be a true cost, right? And um, I think the hope is if there's people here that want to continue to work on the system. Obviously, the board's one thing, and that's gonna have to continue. But if there's folks that want to work on the system. That I think we'd like to see, like I was talking about, as an employee of an operator. Even part-time. That covers that. It's like, now you're insured. Now you've got a license, even if you don't have it, somebody, the responsible party has got an operator's license, but somebody in town had an operator's license. That person should be treated as. Ultimately as a contract worker, a contract employee, or some kind of an employee. Or maybe down the road, it's gonna be their own business, and they've got business, they've got the license, they've got the insurance and the things that are necessary. But all of that is gonna be factored into the cost. We get true cost. I talked a little bit about major projects and plans. The idea of we're gonna have to look at treating or locating a new source, some kind of consolidation. We're also looking at maintenance. Golden State and Ben are looking at what other items need to be maintained right now. So we're trying to, we're putting that plan together. If you have anything that needs maintaining, please reach out. And we have the website, and then we also have an email account. So if we go to, let's switch to the, I've covered this pretty much. We'll switch to the contact us page. Yeah, sure.
In the past, started at 1, and closed And so it was 7 days,
Okay.
and then dropped it down to 0.36 under half a million. And never talked positive. I'd like to see it go back to that, because unless the end of the lines are being purged once a month, refactored once a month.
Yeah.
We get the back gases are horrendous, and of course we have sulfur in the water, which makes it stink anyway.
We are the operator. One of the things the operator will be doing is flushing the lines, especially the dead ends.
And well, they're all dead ends. That's all there, this is.
So that makes it easy.
Okay, it's a looping system.
Yes,
Up there, this is on the board, it's a looping system, and all the dead ends out. Those definitely need to be in summer, once a month. And then, but yeah, if we could get that chlorine down, that would be fantastic. One is that's off the cost. Drop the cost, and then we don't have to worry about anybody having the others.
yeah, we're definitely flushing as part of the maintenance.
Yes,
Yeah,
absolutely.
for sure.
Point 26, under, yeah, under half a part per billion. Right now in point 03. Anyway, you have one.
We'll talk to the folks at Golden State for sure.
06, whichever it is, under half a part per million.
Okay, we'll talk to you, yeah. We want to make sure there's a the legal residual at the end of the.
We always kept 0.36, the 0.036 at the end.
Okay,
It was under half a part per million, every one of the systems.
okay,
And
yes,
RCAC has an update if you need that.
RC has a,
RCAC has an update on how the distributions are going.
oh, for the bottled
Yeah.
water?
Can
Yeah,
you read that off?
yeah, please.
It's not actually on the.
Okay, yeah, it's not going, well, before you do that, let me just get, so that contact us. There's a email address that comes to Provo and Pritchard, Keeler admin at ppemg.com. So if you have questions, you can email to that address. And there's that 559 area code's our office number, so.
I have a question for public comment.
Sure.
Do we know, if the cost of electricity varies depending on the time of day?
Oh, if the system's on a time of use, I will have to look at that. I know, I haven't seen the bill. I mean, I've seen the bill, but I haven't really paid attention. So we'll have to look at
You know, the pressure transmitter, that is what it is up.
it. Okay,
But I haven't been able to install because of the fact being. Here, if
yeah,
there is different changes, then when the tank's full or empty, that is the secret thing. If you do it right, you're going to know wires.
right,
Because that's not switching into the high. And if the high is coming from the high side to the end, you can make sure the tank full.
take sort of thing, sure.
But it wasn't actually.
Yeah.
Understood.
Okay,
So
Yeah,
the rendered some here, but
okay,
the possibility to connect from out here to the district.
sure,
And a chart recorder,
okay,
so it's all been there for like 5 years.
okay, all right. Yeah, no, that's a good idea. We'll have to see if it's on the time of use. Utilities have a special rates.
But what I found out was. The process of turning on was one separate option for it's on for the whole hour, then fine, spread over the whole hour. But because you can assume at that level, that's one's cost.
Okay,
And then there's another cost for how much you do.
okay,
So it gets backed up, especially when it's hot. At 4 o'clock in the afternoon.
that's it. We'll take a peek. All right, so this is from RCAC about the bottled water. Go ahead, please.
So
I'm gonna get right to it.
yeah, so this is from Jerry from RCAC. He had to hop off, but I'm gonna read his update. He said the water distributions are going well. They have more people turning out for the water distribution. It went from 12 households on average per trip to 21 households now. They're hoping to get that higher. Due to the upcoming holiday, they'll be changing the usual schedule a little bit. They're going to send out a flyer with the updated information very soon at the post office. And there's also going to be a notice in the next bill about that change as well. So it's going to be posted. You're going to get a flyer and it's going to be in the bill about the updated dates because of the holidays. The next distribution is going to be Thursday, June 1st, because of Memorial Day travel. Thursday, June 1st is going to be the next one. We're also going to make adjustments to how they track the distribution and how neighbors and renters can authorize others to pick up their monthly water allocations on their behalf, to ensure that everyone gets their 60 monthly allocation gallons. So that will also be emailed, and those details are going to be emailed or mailed. We can take any questions or comments and send that to our CAC, but they're not on the line anymore. Okay.
So what time will that be? 10 o'clock in the morning or?
He did not put a time on here, but they're gonna be sending out more details on those next few distributions. It's probably similar time.
Yeah, he did send that.
He
Said
did, okay. Thank you.
So again, it's important for us to get in touch with the renters too, because we want to make sure they're aware of this program.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Tony.
Yeah, it's nice to meet you. Sure.
Got the drive, you got the
Yep.
data from everything, so if there's anything else, like in Patty or first into it, let us know.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you. Okay, good. We got that. All right, so that is pretty much it for me. And I'm sorry I went over into your time, but if anyone has any questions or anything else we haven't addressed.
Yes.
Sure. Right now, it's just chlorine.
Okay.
And there won't be anything else. We will definitely let you know, because that's part of the reporting. For reporting the community, it's the community, I think confidence report community. It's a report. Yeah, the CCR. Thank you. That comes out. That's due at the end of June. So you'll be getting a mailing with the water quality, what's in your water and that information. But as far as adding anything right now, it's just the chlorine at the tank. Yeah.
I don't want fluoride.
No fluoride.
Question over here.
Yeah, go for it.
Which type of door?
Oh, and
Steve was.
yeah,
Steve.
right, you get to me. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Sorry, Jimmy. Oh,
So.
correct. For our grant. So, our grant is, it's it's 1,036,000 and change. I don't know the exact number. I can get that to you. And that covers 2 years, for everything, basically. Yep. Proportion for like. Sure. Sure. Okay. Yeah, sure. Yeah, sure.
To special districts in this county.
We have talked a little bit to Darwin, but other than that, we've talked to the county and the county operators, because I know they operate Lone Pine. That's still, we haven't done much beyond that, but that's coming up, because as we sort of frame potential consolidation options, we need to know who out there is operating, what kind of condition they're in. Is there a chance to develop some kind of a regional system? we're definitely interested in that, so. Yeah, if you know anybody in any of those systems, we'd love to talk to them. But- Mhm, right. Mhm.
I think by all means, we should speak to, they have been with us all those years. And, also, I would like to see city, county council through all this process. From the county's end, maybe from a third party.
Oh, I'm sorry, for what part of it? Yeah, okay. Okay, so the county does have, I mean, they have their legal counsel. I believe Keeler can access that for a certain number of hours a year. I think you're correct. Yeah,
So.
right. Sure.
All about the dollar amount.
Mhm.
It makes everybody feel a little bit better.
I've got one more dollar amount too. So that's the grant for the administrator. The operator, the administrator is not allowed, our grant doesn't cover operation and maintenance. So we, through the state, secured an operation and maintenance grant. That is another $111,000 that covers 2 years of the operation and maintenance. That's maintenance, sampling, the operator coming out, all of that element. So that's basically a supplement to what you collect, because that only covers it covers basically the operator's time, because Keeler collects money and we use that money as well to pay for maintenance and the other miscellaneous items that are on the budget. But the Keeler's never had a contract operator because you just can't afford to have one. So the contract operator is paid for through this separate state grant. And
it's covering 2 years.
2 years, and we've added a little bit of extra money for some other maintenance to try to catch up on some of the maintenance. What we can't pay is for major construction, so that'll be another grant we'll have to access for major construction. If it looks like that it's not gonna be enough, we can go back to the state and request additional funds. So especially the operation and maintenance part, because we're having to make some assumptions about what that's gonna entail. And it's difficult to guess over 2 years what that looks like. So we'll end up requesting additional funds.
So installing meters and major construction sites, those are gonna be probably from another grant source.
Correct. Yeah, that'll be another, the state has money for planning and construction for water system improvements. And then that grant, we would help secure that grant, but those grant monies would basically be administered by the TA program through somebody like RCAC.
2 years, how are gonna be graded Wednesday?
The goal would be for the system of Keeler to be sustainable, meaning some way you're getting water that meets the state standards, reliable water that meets the state standards at a level that you can afford, whether that means you've consolidated and somebody else is helping. The state continues to pay operation and maintenance after we're gone, and you or that consolidating entity has requested that grant money, and then they're using it to supplement the money you pay for your water rates beyond what the state cap is. I don't know how that's going to look, but it'll be something like that. So it's possible that we'll still be here after 2 years if the construction of new system isn't done, and that takes, from personal experience, a long time to access state money. Then you have to, takes time to get it approved, and then you have to do the engineering, which we won't do, that's separate. So there'll be an engineer through the TA program to do the engineering for a new system, feasibility study, engineering, all those things, and then you have to go out to bid, and then it's construction. So that could be a multi-year process.
So keep the setbacks a little bit.
Mhm.
For the trend. In your knowledge or experience dealing with small districts, have anybody eventually see 2 years help and still couldn't meet the so-called standards and couldn't pass the test from the state level? Then the Keeler district, is it gonna be up for sale with the grad or the auction?
No, Keeler's still a legal entity. It's a community service district. So nothing is gonna, it's not. As the administrator, we've stepped in and we have a lot of responsibility, but we don't own the system or in any way change the legal entity, underlying legal entity. So if we get to 2 years and it looks like we need to continue on, then we'll just go to the state and request that our grant be extended beyond the 2 years so that we can continue to support Keeler until such time as the state's ready, until we're all ready to basically, whatever that entity is, to move on to the next phase, so we can step away and be done. Yeah.
The district's water. It's the water rights.
Keeler's, the CSD, the Community Service District. Yeah. Yes, a county, yeah, there's it's a designation. District that allows, among other things, I think that's how they can roll past due amounts, see your tax rolls. And provide you with legal and the audit and support. Keeler has to pay a little bit for an audit, but it's less than it would be if you were having to audit.
There's a
So-
question, there's a question from
Yeah,
online,
uh-huh.
from Carol, could the water delivery times and dates be put on the website like it was in March? So.
The answer is we'll
Yes,
definitely have to
yeah,
do that, yeah.
I
Okay,
just want
okay, great,
Yeah,
yeah,
for
we'll
everybody.
definitely do that. Hey, I'm sorry,
Or fun events.
so
oh, and then they
Off of the goalpost, because we do leave in the summer and we need to come home with either penalties or being shut down or whatever. So just wondering if that, you have factored that into the billing.
to allow you to basically pay right. We'll verify that with Golden State. I don't think that'll be a problem. We have to fix the issues about making sure that your account is credited for that, so it's right. But yeah, I don't think that'll be an issue. Yeah. Yes,
The KCP runs the system for the water. They don't own the water, it belongs to the town. The town originally pitched in, but
well, KCSD is a legal entity.
right, which is true.
And
Well, we get,
right, so through your, as a community, then you elect or appoint a board that has been responsible to manage
yes,
the CSD. That's usually how these.
if we see how this really, you can watch, it's called the HARES, Florida. We bring stuff in the water.
Well, hopefully we won't have any crazy stuff here anymore than normal.
There was one in that for years, there was.
And the system was so bad that we could see water bubbling out of the pipelines under the surface. Yeah, and then a committee was formed, my husband was on it. And that became, that committee became the first KCSD building.
Okay. Right. And it's like if there's other kind of legal questions you have that come up, I'll definitely get Dan ready to refer to Dan to give you more legal answers. So these are the original plans?
No, they're not the original picture.
Prints of the plan, okay.
So the original scheme of putting in when was the? I'm sorry? Well, the last major change.
Okay, well, thank you, guys.
Reach out if you have any questions. Okay, thank you.
And then if anybody does want to do the written comments, we got those too.
So
They're really.
they. I've seen some plans, somebody can probably be photographed. Plans.
Yeah, so, and thank you, and we also, if you want to do written comments, we can take those as well, so, okay,
Thank you. Are you good? Okay, all right, thank you.
thank you.
So, you want if I take it to the copy and bring it back in a couple of months?
Thank you.
There was a lot of difficulty.
Think that we're gonna.
I think you guys have a separate Zoom meeting certificate.
I sent out this one, yeah.
They take all that stuff.
Okay, that's easier, so we can just switch over.
But when you take the as empty bottles as a result of these,
Sure.
they give it to us. We take them into town, pay the money and put it back in the bank. So
Oh,
if it's empty stuff, we're then involved in recycling, they're involved in recycling, so the money comes back.
Yeah, sure.
And in that process, we certify the certified. We've got all the doors.
Is that Dan Reyes?
yes, Dan Reyes is on.
They don't want.
Okay.
And they can get them out of our way.
Okay.
Now, that chart that's on the wall, right?
I believe they're gonna do their board.
It's not, yeah, it's.
The fire department?
Yeah,
Mhm.
as a result, we went behind it, showing where all the
Are you gonna stay for the?
5500, but also basically on the roll of where fire hose is ready to.
Okay.
Now,
Sure.
got all the specs on there. There's a list that I can give you.
Okay, yeah,
Very good. List of by tag number, where they are, when they were last fitted. Okay, if we know. Not that we can carry on maintaining. There's a few of us trying to run the fire, sure, very difficult.
So if you need help with beating exercising the fire hydrants, let us know.
We could do that, but what we're doing now is trying to make sure.
Sure.
This is for Dan, you can answer me later.
Okay.
Dan, the board has denied me access to public records for months, but they let other people go into Connex and look at records, and I don't know why, because it's in the public. This public is illegal to all of the community. So, let me know if you
I'm sorry, I can't tell if there's a question for me.
Yeah, we'll get the question to you, Dan.
Send it to
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks. Thanks for coming. Thanks for letting us use the firehouse. Oh, shit.
Anyway.
Robert, we'll ask Dan to,
Let's have Ben.
we'll get Dan to provide us some information on what the best way to manage those is, okay?
board members give, board members with water out of town here. It's terrible.
He's living with me.
His tank safe,
He's living with me.
his water tank safe, not potable water, and non-potable.
Robert, we'll get you recommendation.
Figure out it now, because I know what I'm seeing.
Okay.
I'll be something on this.
All right.
That's
you.
good.
Rental,
Okay. Sorry, I don't remember your name. Do you have any questions there? Okay, great. Okay, so, thanks. Okay, so we're all good then?
We continue with your, it won't be a long meeting. We were
It's the same Zoom meeting.
It's the same thing. Okay, so let me just let everybody know. So the community meeting's finished. If you're interested in hanging on for the board meeting, feel free. And then when that's, so yeah, right, we're okay with board
Yes,
meeting?
thank you so much. I think it was
Yeah.
a really good meeting.
Okay, good.
Thank you.
Thanks for coming.
Thanks, everyone.